everyone, and welcome to Geek Tank, where everything is a matter of geek. We are hosting our first online episode. We are here today with the host of Hawaii's #1 podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself, man?
Man, you gotta put me on the spot like that. Welcome everyone. Hi, this is Mekel Kasanova. I host the #1 podcast in Hawaii, the Kasanova Podcast, which you should check out if you're interested in voice actor interviews, game company interviews, and more, which I had you guys on recently,
I know.
so you go and check out that one. The episode was phenomenal.
So now, I mean, now we have you on our chopping block. Now it's we get to ask the hard questions this time. So tell us a little bit about your life, if you can. Like, I know in our interview that when we were on your show, you told us, like, your father was in the military, so you were moving around a lot.
Yeah, so basically, I'm originally from Western Samoa. My dad was a Marine, so we moved around constantly. I lived in Western Samoa for a couple of years. I want to say up until I was like 6 or 7, and then we ended up moving to Memphis, Tennessee at one point, where he's from. He got stationed there for a couple of years, and then we just moved all over. So New York, Rhode Island, where else? St. Louis. So yeah, I was basically a military brat, but I didn't learn English until I went to Memphis. So I had to pick up English quickly at 7.
All right.
Oh wow! So you were 7 when you first started learning English.
Yeah.
And which of these places did you spend the most time in? Was it Memphis or?
When we started traveling, or?
So like which area were you based in for the longest time? Is what I mean to say. Like which area of the States did you grow up in most?
Probably, I'd say Memphis. I was there the longest.
Okay.
That we lived in not far from Graceland. What was it? Elvis's estate. So down the street from it, actually, which is funny because his mansion is in the middle of a ghetto. There's like ghetto everywhere else, and then his place, which is heavily guarded, and you drive past it. But yeah, it's
Wait,
so funny.
Elvis's estate is heavily guarded?
Yeah, like there's like people outside of it, and you've got a security detail like making sure nobody, because it's in a ghetto. That whole area is a ghetto, like grimy ghetto.
Oh
wow. Wow.
So are like people living there now, or is it a museum, or?
I think it's just a museum, like a tourist location at this point.
Okay. Was it kind of rough for you, like making friends as you were moving place to place, or like?
I would say it was, especially living in Memphis for the longest, given that my English wasn't very good. And at the time I had like long hair, which is hard to believe. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't believe it, until I show them pictures of when I was like a kid. I used to have like a long ponytail, because typical Samoans, we grow our hair out really, really long. And I had like the ia lava, which is kind of like our sarong wrap, which we wear. And I used to walk around, and we call it, in Hawaii and Samoa, we call them slippers, but in the mainland, we call them like house shoes or flip-flops or something like that. So I would walk around in that, and I was constantly teased and picked on by other kids because of the way I looked. I was called weird. My broken English. And then just people not knowing what I was, because I mixed some Samoan, Hawaiian, Dominican, and Cherokee, as well as Black. But a lot of people there, when I was growing up there, it's either you're Black, you're white, and or you'd be Native American.
Okay.
Because there's a reservation, there's a Chicaleeson reservation that's not far from where the Graceland is, typically Memphis is a predominantly black neighborhood, and there's an area called Whitehaven, which was called Whitehaven because it was supposed to be a Whitehaven. But yeah, it was something else. I was primarily, because it's funny because the white kids didn't really pick on me, but the black kids constantly picked on me, constantly. But yeah, it was a challenge. I didn't. I'll be honest. Like I never had friends growing up within that area. Like I had a lot of white friends, but I didn't have any black friends just because they always wanted to pick on me. But
yeah. Oh wow! I mean, it's a fascinating story because it's kind of like your story is fascinating. It's just the fact that like the way you're describing it now, it's almost like, you know, even though you're American, it's like a tale of an immigrant.
Yeah.
and through like, you know, the adversities and where you are now, it's just fascinating as well. It's like you are Hawaii's #1 podcast. It's just like and the thing is the way you did it too, it's just like, you know, you did it solely on your own. It's such an inspirational story. So I mean, please, if you can, share some of this story with us.
Well, I mean, the way I when I got into podcasting, I'd say I got into podcasting with one of my best friends, and he is funny because he used to be my boss when I worked for Microsoft.
Okay.
So he always wanted to do podcasts because he used to listen to like Windows Central podcasts and audio like auto car podcasts and whatnot. And he's like, man, I want to do something. Like I want to do a podcast and call it like Tech Etc. And we talk about like tech and music and all the stuff like gaming and whatnot. And so after months and months of bothering me about it from 2016 to 2017, I finally gave in and joined him on various episodes. We did, I want to say at least 10 or 15 episodes. And then he ended up moving.
Okay.
And so at the time, like, I'm like, oh, I've got all this equipment. I've got this boom arm right here. I've got, you know, my Yeti. I've got all this equipment. I got my headphones. I got my V motors. I'm like, all right, he's not here. What am I going to do at this point? And to be honest, and no disrespect to my friend, but I kind of didn't like doing podcasts with him because it was always one of those situations where it was him dominating the conversation and like, oh, what do you think? He really didn't care what I thought. I was just noise in the background. So I decided to start my own podcast at the end of 2017, back in December of 2017, and I called it Cass Speaks. I went off of the whole Mekel Kasanova name.
Yeah.
And so it started off with me just ranting about various things from, I think my first episode was called I Got 99 Problems, but Amazon is definitely one. And it's because like I ordered the Super Nintendo Mini.
Yeah.
And Amazon won't send these to Hawaii. That's actually a thing where a lot of things that have internal battery or power supply, you can't order or have it sent to Hawaii from Amazon. So my first episode, I was just ranting about that and how I was upset about it and different things I was going through with work and whatnot. And people were like, yo, I want another episode. And so I just kept going and going and going until I got to a point, I think 6 or 7 episodes in, I'm like, yo, I don't have anything I can talk about at this point. And then the whole Cass Speaks thing, I got tired of that. And then someone, I forgot who it was. It could have been my wife or someone, but they were like, why don't you change it to the Kasanova Podcast and start, you know, just talking to various people. So I started doing that, and I was already connected to people in the YouTube gaming scene. So I was like, okay, I have some people on that I know. And so I started reaching out to other YouTubers in the gaming scene, smaller content creators, and it was a challenge learning how to manage having people on my show. And so I did so over time, and I started reaching out to other YouTubers, like ones I was big fans of, and that turned out to be a disappointment. never meet your heroes, people. I just say that much. A lot of the YouTubers that I was meeting, that I was a fan of, that are very animated. They're completely different when you talk to them, and it's not a scripted environment. So, after a while, a lot. God, a lot of them are. But so I got to a point where I was like, man, I'm kind of, because I got burnt out with talking to gaming YouTubers. Okay. So I started reaching out to political ones, like people from Turning Point USA. So Brandon Tatum, one of my best friends, Amazing Lucas, Hotep Jesus, and many others. And I was like, oh, this is cool. But then I'm starting to polarize people because they don't like that I'm talking about politics. And so I'm like, what else can I do? It's like, how about voice actors? I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do that, but I'll try it. So like the first game that came that I think the guy, I'm a friend with him now, but he announced he was the lead character for Shining Resonance Refrain. Okay. His name was Griffin Burns. So I reached out to him on Twitter as he announced. I said, hey, would you like to be on Hawaii's #1 podcast? And I was saying that back before it even was the podcast. And so I reached out to him, and he's like, yeah, I'd love to come on. He came on, and I was like, holy shit, this is actually happening. So I started doing the whole podcast with him. I interviewed him for like half an hour. The next thing I know, Dorothy Fawn announced that she was the main lead voice. And I was like, man, that name sounds familiar, but I'll reach out to her. So I reached out to her and said, hey, would you like to come on Hawaii's #1 podcast? And then she was like, yeah, sure. And then when I want to say like half an hour before I interviewed her, I looked her up. I was like, oh, this is Dorothy Fawn from Trigon. She was Marilyn Trigon.
Snap. Nice.
She was in Rurouni Kenshin. She's like a legendary voice actress. I'm like, she's going to come on my show? And so then I had her on, and it was cool. Then I had Richard Epcar as my third guest, which blew my mind. I'm like, this guy's legendary.
Yeah.
So I had,
he's got over like 400 credits. I saw.
Yeah,
it's insane. I'm just like, wow. So, did you ever get like nervous when you like hit these people up and you're just like, hey, want to be on my show?
I'm always nervous. I'm nervous being on the show right now.
It's always like that. It gives you the edge you need.
It's just one of those things. Like I have this thing where I'm actually a very shy person. A lot of people think, oh, you're really outgoing. This and this. I'm like, no. If you ask my wife, I'm very shy. I'm very to myself. I'm very. It's very intimidating for me to reach out to people like and say, hey, would you like to come on my show? Like I fake it till I make it.
So we're very similar in that too, because all three of us are so similar. Because like, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like we go to conventions, we're just like, hey man, we got to get these guys on our show. We don't have that.
Approach them. No, you. You gotta go talk to him. It's your turn.
So yeah, it's like, we get the jitters, and then once we get up to them, and it's like, okay, you gotta flip the script. It's like, wow. Once you get to them, it's like, all right.
No, that's exactly how I am, man. Like I'm very, very much like that, man. Like I'm like, oh God, this is happening right now. I can't run out of it. I asked them to come on, so I gotta do something. I gotta be courageous and just go through with it. Like I don't know. Maybe it's because I used to do acting in college and I learned how to mask my fear with impromptu acting. So I just apply that same logic to this. So.
Oh, nice. So tell us a little bit about your college life, if you can.
I'd like to hear about the acting now.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to hear like the bad parts or the bad parts of college?
All of them.
All of them. Everything.
Okay, so I used to go to Chaminade University, which is literally 5 minutes from where I live now. I hate that college with a passion, but I went to that college back in I want to say I started like 2004, 2005, and I went there for actually, I didn't even have an idea what I wanted to do. Because I applied there. I applied to UH Manoa. I applied to UH Hilo, Hawaii Pacific University. and Brigham Young University, even though I'm not Mormon. It was just like, yeah, I just want to go to Hawaii. I just want to go back to island life. Because, like, honestly, like, if I were to go back to Samoa, there's only American Samoa Community College. And, yeah, I'm not for it. Going that college is shit. Anyway, sorry. Anyway. But, no, so I went to Chaminade University back 2004. So I went there. And it was very interesting. At the time, I was 16 years old, and
so young.
Yeah, my mom was very much a pusher for academics, and if you were above like high school, then she's like, you're gonna test out and just go to college. So she did that with me and all my siblings.
Oh wow!
And so I went to Chaminade, and it was very interesting because one of the things for me is like when I went to college, I didn't have a lot of interaction with people that were my age. So when I was growing up, it was just mostly me around my parents, me with my siblings. I'm the youngest of six, and my sibling that's closest to age to me is 7 years older than me, 7 to 8 years older than me. So it was just us. And then with that, like my interactions with other people were just very, very, like my age are very limited. So it was definitely something that was it was challenging because the majority of the kids that went to Chaminade were from California. And California people are kind of different. A little bit. You know, small kind different. A whole lot of different. So, you know, I there are things that they would say, things that they would do, like their lingo. Like I was just completely out of the loop. Like God, I'm not understanding like a lot of the things that they're saying. Like they were saying stuff like, "Oh man, this thing slaps," and I'm like, "Wait, it slaps? What does that mean?" I know what that means. yeah. They're like, "Oh, that it means it's good." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I was surrounded by that, and then you had the kids in New York, and they had their own lingo.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, I don't get it." So I was really, really confused with that, and then the fact that with my English, as I learned it, I had a very, very southern drawl, like every thick bumfuck country accent that really it just really threw me off. And people like, "Oh, I can't understand what you're saying. Oh, you're awkward," because at the time I still had my long hair. I was into punk music.
Oh, nice. I see. I know that feeling.
Yeah, you know, I was into punk and rock. I played guitar. I didn't really listen to hip hop. So a lot of people were just they just thought I was weird. They're like, you know, "You're from the South and you're like this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so at the time too, I think when I was 16, I was like 5'6", 5'8". It was before I hit my growth spurt. I'm 6'2" now.
Yeah.
But I was smaller than a lot of the other people that came there, and I actually got picked on by a lot of the people, including the girls, for being so short.
Even in college, people were doing that?
Yeah. It could also be because I was also the youngest too. Because a lot of people in Chaminade were like 18, 19, or 20-something. I was 16, so they picked on me a lot for that. Then I got put in, I was in a freshman dorm, and I had two roommates, one Samoan guy, one gay roommate. And that's another thing, too, that I wasn't really used to is people that were, you know, gay or lesbian or anything, because I had no interaction with that, like, at all. Like, none in Memphis, none in Samoa. So the most I had seen was, like, whatever I saw on, like, TV. But, like, real-life experience with this, so I was like, "Oh, okay, you're just extra friendly with me than you are with a girl. Okay, I don't understand that." So I just, you know, I was just to myself. And then what else happened? Man, do we really want to go down that route with college? Because I had
no, it's fine.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, I had, I guess I can just summarize it. My college experience is really horrible. My freshman year, this is probably the first I've publicly spoken about this too.
Oh, wow.
So, you get an exclusive.
I know, yeah. We're getting an exclusive now.
So, my freshman year, I ended up with my one roommate, the gay roommate. He was notorious for starting a lot of drama and rumors about people. And this one girl who was his bestie at the time, he started this rumor about her and said she had AIDS or something, or she slept around, some shit. And when she confronted him, he told her it was me.
Oh.
And the thing is, then he spun it further, saying like, "Oh, well, you know, Mekel said he'd like to do this and that to you, blah 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 blah." And it didn't help that I didn't have any friends. I wasn't friends with anyone. Everyone already thought I was weird. So she went to Residential Life, reported me to them, and reported me to the dean. And the funny thing is, the dean already hated me because she and my mother at one point were friends, but my mother got with my dad, who my dad was someone that my dean had fell in love with at one point. So there's already bad blood there.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. That's like the worst.
Right?
Oh, God. It's like the perfect storm of terrible factors just coalescing.
This is like real life soap opera.
It's just why. Dude, like I'm hearing about this and it's like this sounds like high school was for me. I thought like at least for me, my college experience, like people were a lot more mature, I feel. But then again, I was also working a lot. I was, you know, I had a job and I was going to school full time, so I didn't really have time for drama or nonsense.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's the thing too. Is like when I look back on it, it's like, what is this, Days of Our Lives or something?
So was it like a small college or?
Oh yeah, it's super small. It's probably the smallest college in Hawaii, and it's also connected to a high school. So I mean, that doesn't help either.
Oh, so yeah. Then that sort of kind of like makes sense that like, you know, people just have nothing else better to do than start drama there. So
yeah,
it's not as, you know, open and diverse, since it's just more very small and closed. It just breeds just boredom and just shit to just come out.
Yeah.
People don't have anything to do, so they got to create something.
Yeah.
You know, exactly, and that's kind of how it was. And when they went to the dean, and then the basically they accused me of harassing the girl, accused me of starting rumors and all this other stuff. And excuse me. Then they ended up, they didn't give me a chance to defend myself or prove my innocence. I was guilty without any evidence, just the girl's word. And then the next thing I know is I'm I'm kicked out of my dorm. And then I started looking for a place to stay. Like I told my mom, because at the time my dad was deployed, and I told my mom like what happened. You know, she wasn't able to fly out here, so she was just like, "Oh, you should fight back to, you know, tell people that you're innocent. Start a petition, tell them to sign it saying you're innocent." So it's just one of those situations where I'm doing what my mother told me because I don't know any better, and it's actually making the situation worse. Because it's making way more people aware of it, and then making more people talk about it. So I ultimately became like the pariah of the school for like 4 years. And what they ended up doing was I was able to go into this other dorm, and I got stuck in the dorm with a bunch of jocks, like the basketball players. And I was tiny compared to them. Like they were like 6'7", 6'8". I think one was 7 feet tall. One of them, his name was Kelly. He's still a good friend of mine. He was cool. He was basically, he looked out for me because everyone was picking on me but him. But at the same time, he was conscious of his public image.
Okay.
So, you know, He did kind of keep a distance, but behind closed doors, he was super awesome. But I got put in a room with this one asshole jock named Sean, and he ended up beating the hell out of me. Because he's friends with that girl that made that report about me. So one thing a lot of people don't know about me is I've had actually both my legs broken and both my arms. And that guy, he used to because he's also a star player, Shamnad. He used to beat the shit out of me. So he broke both my legs. He broke my clavicle. He broke one of my arms. He would just like beat me up, and he just towered over me. I couldn't overpower the guy. He just beat me up and just would leave me in there. And it's even when I tried to file a police report, the school backed him. And it's funny too, because it's the Catholic college, and the minister brothers, whatever they call themselves, were actually next door. And when they were asked by the police if they heard anything, the police said no. And then they said, "Oh yeah, you know, he's clumsy. He tends to hurt himself. He just fell down the stairs." And,
oh my god!
So yeah, freshman year was hell. Sophomore year didn't get better. Junior year didn't either. Like I just was further ostracized more and more by people. And so, and this story I know is negative, but it leads into a positive, because the Mekel Kasanova persona was actually birthed in this bullshit. Because I got to a point where I was so hated at college. Like everyone, even people that don't talk to me, they didn't know me, just came in and just started hating me. Like one of my wife's friends, actually, before her and I started dating, warned her about me. And it was kind of funny because the girl never even spoke to me, not once. She just always avoided me like everyone else did. So what I ended up doing was I got to a point where I started going clubbing. I made friends outside of the school scene. Yeah, you know, I just go out to the clubs, and you know, I couldn't drink. I had no rhythm, so I couldn't drink. I mean, not that I couldn't drink. I couldn't dance, and so I just got connected to a bunch of people that were all about clubbing and whatnot. And the next thing I know, they started teaching me how to dance. They started getting me into drinking, into partying, and at the time, I was like, yo, this is cool. Like, let's go ahead and do this. Like, I just got to a part where I started being more social, more active with people outside of school. And then I got this mentality, like, people are like, yo, man, you should start calling yourself Casanova. I'm like, why? They're like, because I can see you've got that swagger that if you learn how to hone it in, you could be like a true Casanova. And so what I started doing was, I'm like, man, how do I become suave? Because I had no guile and no game. I didn't know how to get girls. And what I ended up doing was I just started watching Hitch. Hitch. Like over and over and over again, I would watch that movie. And I just started copying him. And then I started watching how other guys were, like James Bond. Like, and then I started watching people in the club that were able to pick up girls, and I just started emulating that until I just started creating the Mekel Kasanova persona. And at the same time, that's when I ended up getting with my first wife, and we ended up having a daughter. And then this is my sophomore year going into junior year. Our marriage didn't last that long because we had a daughter that after a couple months she passed away due to sudden infant death syndrome. And so that tore, I know the days of our lives gets better and better. So it that tore us apart, and then we ended up divorcing. We're still friends now, but that tore us apart. Mentally kind of just fractured me as who I was as Mekel James, which is my real name. And I just started my escape became my nightlife persona, Mekel Kasanova, who at the time I was called Mr. Dougie because that's when that song got popular, and I was really really good at that dance, but I was Mr. Dougie, aka Mekel Kasanova, and then it just got to a point where who I was as Mekel and who I was as Mekel Kasanova switched, and then it got to the point where Mekel Kasanova was who I was. Like, I was that larger than life persona. I was like a wrestling figure. I was like The Rock. I would call people out. I talk trash. I could get the girl. I had the swagger. And then I got to a point, because of how I was, I became a radio personality for 104.3. And I also got to do stuff with the clubs. I became a club promoter too. And I was working with a lot of the biggest clubs out here, promoting it. I had my own guest list. You'd have club lines out down across the block, and I just walk up and be like, "Hey, you want to get in? Okay, well, rock with me. Let's go." And just walk up, walk through security, and walk right into the club. Like, I had my own bar service, and it got to the point where people in college were like, "Oh man, I want to be your friend now." And stupidly at the time, I was like, "Okay, yeah, and let me be cool with them." Stupid, because all they wanted was free shit. But that's kind of how like the Mekel Kasanova persona came about. And then I started realizing, okay, I need to be serious about school. So I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm a junior. I've done all my electives. I got my associates. So what am I going to do from this point on? Like, what field do I want to go into? So I was like, okay, well, I could do marketing since I'm already doing that with club promoting. So I ended up getting my degree in marketing, one in media relations and another in so I got my degree in media relations, and I got a business degree in small business development. And so I got those degrees. And then after I graduated, I realized, I'm like, shit, I feel like I didn't learn anything in Chaminade. Because I went to jobs, and they're like, oh, you got this degree. And then they're like, oh, do you have this certification? You have this experience? You have this? And the thing about Chaminade is they don't actually prepare you for the real world.
I think you can say that about a lot of colleges. That's
yes.
The education is different than the on-hands experience.
That's one thing I was gonna ask too. Is like, because my thing is, I don't say this with like pride or anything like that. It's just like, I just never went to college. I feel like a lot of the colleges or fields.
I envy you.
Like, I just felt like, all throughout my childhood in school, it just felt like they were just boxing me into this box and like just not letting my creativity out.
Yeah.
It just felt like, you're just gonna be they just kind of like, for me, school just felt like they're just training you to be another cog in the wheel.
They tell you what to think, not how to think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely how it is. And Chaminade was definitely that. They didn't encourage any type of individuality, any type of creativity. It was, you think this way, you do this, you do that, and that is what you are. And that was one of the things I really hated about that school. And I guess you could say one of the positives of going to Chaminade was theater. So I know I was supposed to go into how I got into theater. Which is, there's a story to that. So I did this this play, Waiting for Godot. And the thing is, I applied for a lot of us try out for it.
Yeah.
And this is during my Mekel Kasanova phase. I was drunk off my ass. And I was drunk. I went to this thing, and then they gave me the script. Apparently, I looked at it and I threw the script away, and then I just became the character. I was saying stuff, and the playwright was like, "You're the guy." Yeah, you're the guy. And I'm like, okay, I'm the guy. And then every time we go to rehearsal, I was nervous, and I'm like, hey, I don't know if I'm really the best actor. I don't have a background in theater or anything like that. They're like, oh, you're a natural. Like, and the person's like, you take the script and you throw it away and you just become the character. You act like the character. I'm like, well, what is that? They're like, that's method acting. It's like, oh. Or improv acting, not method acting. Yeah. No, actually, that is.
A little bit of both.
Yeah. So I did that play, and I did 3 other plays, and then I was supposed to do another one, but then I'm like, I couldn't keep up with it because my nightlife was. No, this is how it was. I would go to school. I'd be at school from like 7:30 to 4. And then I'd be at the radio station from like 5 to like maybe 8 o'clock at night. Be at the club at like 9 setting up. And I'd be at home by like, I want to say 5 in the morning hungover.
Shit.
And that was like my time during theater and during college, like my junior year into graduating. And it's like, God, and like I look at it now, I get 8 hours of sleep and I'm still tired. I don't know how I did that.
That's a sleep deprivation just clinging to you from all those years.
I mean, this is even just before you had the podcast or Kasanova Podcast, and it's like just so inspirational, like how to hear just up to this. This is just like, you know, you still have a whole This is just like a little
lifetime ago. This is its own life story.
Yeah, it's just like a whole little chunk of a life, but then it's just like, holy crap, man! You know, the things that you just went over, these broke through these barriers just to, you know, to be this inspirational young entrepreneur that you are now. It's really fascinating, man. It's great that, you know, I'm really humbled. Like it was crazy that, you know, I would say a lot of people would just buckle under all the things that you went through.
I keep hearing that. And people are like, what did you do? Like, how did you make it through all that? I'm like, I have this thing about me where I'm stubborn. And I think I get this from my dad, or maybe my mom, or both, because they're both stubborn as hell. It's just a thing with me where if someone keeps telling me I can't do something, then I'm gonna bust my ass to show that I can, not for them, but for me. And growing up with siblings where they're all, and probably it's that too, is my siblings are all very, very, very talented musically, artistically. And, you know, me being the young kid that I was growing up, I wasn't as gifted with music. I couldn't read sheet music. I could hear it and play it. Like I can play guitar, drums, violin. Like I could hear them do that. And I could pick it up, but when they put sheet music in front of me, I'm the only one that couldn't read, even amongst my parents. I could sing, but I couldn't sing to the extent that they did. Like I couldn't hit falsettos like that on a dime the way they could. When it came to art, I could draw. I had no formal training. And when I would go to classes for formal training, I wasn't very good at taking, you know, the lead with that. I could draw and paint realistic things from memory. But like if it was something specific that they wanted me to do, like I couldn't do it. I could only draw from creativity or memory. So I, you know, and having siblings telling me I was stupid, I'd never achieve, I'd never do this, like that just got to a point where I'm like, no, I want to do this because, one, you're telling me I can't, and I know I can, and I want to prove it. So, you know, that's just something that's always been with me. Like, it's just, no matter what it looks like. And plus, also, too, like, law of attraction. You know, I'm a big fan of Michael Bernard Beckwith, and one of the things he said in The Secret, you can start with nothing and no way, and a way will be made. And that just stuck with me for so long to where I'm just like, yeah, I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what people tell me. I don't care if they say it's impossible. I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a way. And that's just kind of been how I've approached life, in situations like with, case in point when my daughter passed and people were like, oh, I'm shocked that you haven't killed yourself or you haven't done this or you're not an alcoholic, you're not this. And I'm like, it's because it's on me to live the best life that I can for what she didn't get the chance to experience. I want to make her proud. I want to get to the end of my life. And when I have other kids say, hey, this is someone we can look up to, this is someone we can be I can be an inspiration to. And it's just something that it's just, I don't know. Like I just refuse to relent. And I'm always like, what's the next plateau I can get to? That's just how I am.
It's the rebellious underdog that's always looking for the silver lining, even in the worst situation.
Hey.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, like, that's, like I said, it's great to have you on and to share this with other people. So hopefully they're inspired, because obviously we're inspired. We're humbled that we're getting, like, it was for us. It was so crazy. It's like, man, we don't know him, but he's treating us so nice, and like, he's like, hey, who do you want to interview? I got you, and all this stuff. And it's just like, man, this crazy thing that we have now, the internet, and to connect with another human being from all the way across the world, it's just like, and treating them like human being, like that's the way you do it now. It's like, you're living up to that. You haven't treated people like shit, or having like, someone's on the internet, yeah, they're not real, they're not an actual human being. You've constantly have just treated everybody with kindness, man. And it's just like we're still like so humbled by it, like, by having you on our show, and it's just amazing, just this connection that we've come to have now. It's just like, holy shit.
I mean, the way I think of it, man, it's just like I'm a real big believer in treating people the way you want to be treated, and in things that I've been able to do in life, I've come to realize that there is no limit. There's no real limitations other than what we mentally limit ourselves to. Like, even people that have physical impairments, I look at a lot of them, and they're able to achieve some of the greatest things, and they don't let that their physical handicap keep them from doing so. My thing is, I'm inspired by that, and if I can help someone else, if I can just be friendly and just be real with people, because I that's one of the things with YouTube that I guess you could say in a way has disenfranchised me a lot, is meeting a lot of bigger YouTubers that are fake. They put on the facade, they put on this thing to pretend to be a certain way, and when you get to know them, they're some of the most unique, I'm gonna use that word, unique individuals. And and it's just one of the things where I want to be different. I want to just be genuine, because I want people to know that, no matter what, if I'm doing good, if I'm doing bad, you can always come to me. I can help you out in any way I can. Like, if there's something I can see you're doing, there's something I can believe in that you're doing, then I want to help with it. Like with you guys, like with me interviewing Ruben, I have to actually thank you guys for that, because it probably would have been another traditional interview if I had not seen your guys' interview with him, where you guys went down the rabbit hole. And I'm like, yo, I nosedive down the rabbit hole. And since he's comfortable talking about it, cool. Like, your interview with him inspired me. So,
Thank you. It's like, oh, all right, our 50 million subscribers and whatnot. But no, it's great to forget what I was gonna say, but
it's great to actually like hear your story, get to know more about you.
Yeah.
So, you know, like you said countless times already, it is an inspiring story. I mean, I would have had no clue in the fact that you actually pushed through the adversity like that, whether it was because you were stubborn or whatever. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of people that, as was said earlier, that would have just buckled under it. So for anyone out there that's actually hearing this, that might be going through a hard time, this right here, like this is what I like to get to on the podcast, is hearing about this kind of stuff, because that you know, tells someone out there that, hey, you're not alone. You're going to get through this. Whatever bad comes your way, life is going to go on, and you keep trucking along, and eventually you're going to find something good.
Yeah. No, it's very true. And that's one of the things too, is for me, like even when I went through cancer, and that's one of the other things, like I'm 3 years in remission. And, you know, I had doctors, I had other people saying, like, especially doctors who have stage 2, colorectal cancer, and they're saying, oh, you only have so long to live, you may not make it through this, you know, you got to do the treatment, you got to do this, you got to do that. You know, make the most of the life that you have left. And I noticed that people around me were very much doom and gloom. Their whole thing was, you know, this is so sad. You're going to die so young. You know, you're not going to be able to accomplish this. You're not. Again, it goes back to what I can't do.
Yeah.
So I heard that, and then the doctors being negative. And so there's this one holistic healer that came through the hospital at one time that I interacted with. And they said, you know, have a paradigm shift. Think positively. Think in the now. And focus on what you can do, focus on being happy, being grateful, live a life of gratitude. And so with that, I just kept going, you know, from that point on. I'm like, I don't care. If I live, if I die, at least I'm going to know that I lived life the best that I possibly could. And so I just kept myself, you know, thinking positively, you know, not being the positive where I'm ignoring the negative, but just being a positive person. I would also do stuff like meditate. I got into living in a state of gratitude for everything that I have, changing my mentality of what can I get to how can I serve. And, you know, I don't know how, I don't know why, but eventually, you know, with the treatment I was going through, which they said, you know, with chemo, you wouldn't make it through, I beat cancer, you know, and I swore to myself that coming out of that, I would never look at life in the sense of limitations. I would never be ungrateful for anything. Even if it's a bad experience, I will find something within that to be grateful for. And I will seek whatever way I can to help people along the way. And it's just been my thing, like, ever since.
Wow, man. Wow. It's just like, I know you're getting emotional. I'm gonna get emotional. We're all gonna end up crying on this. And it's just like, but the inspiration, like I said, it's just with this episode, hopefully it instills a drive to other people to do better and to do good. Because like you have done nothing but that in your life, from what I've heard so far. It's just like, and what I've also, you know, experienced with you so far through this magical thing we call the internet. It's just nothing but positivity, and it is true, you know, and like you said, to, you know, you don't ignore the negative, but you twist it in a light, and you kind of learn, just shift it into like a positive.
Yeah, you definitely do.
And you know, I wanted to ask, it's like, you know, you were talking about college life as well, how you came up with the Kasanova persona. like, what is it now to you? Because like it's like a blend of, you know, Mekel James and Mekel Kasanova, and it's like, okay, this is who I am now. And it's obviously, you know, as a person, you're always going to be changing every time. But when you do your shows, like, is it, because when I see your shows, it's nothing but like raw passion and put into it. It's like, you know, you are genuine as hell. And like, you know, we talked about other people, you could kind of tell. It's just kind of like that, this is like kind of scripted persona you got going on there, you know. And it's just, but for you, like, after college, what was it that did you blend, like, did you find yourself after college in a sense?
Yeah, so it took me finally coping with my daughter's passing and going to therapy to actually go through the grieving process, to, you know, stop drinking, stop partying, and to just let it all hit me and think to myself, like, who am I? Who is Mekel? You know, am I Mekel James? Am I Mekel Kasanova? Am I, you know, what am I? So it just really came down to me just taking time to just sit and reflect on things. And I came to the happy medium that, hey, a lot of Mekel Kasanova is not really me. This is just me amplified to 1,000,000. Let me turn that gauge down a bit. Let me, you know, merge in more of Mekel, the humble guy, and see where I'm at. And so I've got the humble part of me, which is Mekel James, and I've got the outgoing part of me, which is taxing, which is Mekel Kasanova. And I've just come to realize that, you know, I'm both, you know, and it's you know, I don't have to put on a face to just be one or be the other, when I'm realistically, that's just me all the time. Yeah. And with, you know, when I do my shows, that's just raw, that's just Mekel, you know, like, that's not Mekel James, Mekel, that's just Mekel. Yeah. The Casanova thing is just mainly, I would have went with Mekel James, but the reason not is because of the work I do for the hospital I work at. Yeah. You know, I had to have some level of anonymity. Yeah. That's the word, how you say it? So I just went with that, and that's just kind of taken on a life of its own. People are like, oh, you're Mekel Kasanova. I'm like, yeah.
How was that when, you know, when you first started? Because like you said, you told the story. When you first started, you weren't Hawaii's #1 podcast. You were, you know, but you had it as Hawaii's #1 podcast listed in the thing. So once you started going up, like when people actually started recognizing, like, what was your first time in your experience when someone first actually recognized you on the street or wherever, you know, like?
It had to have been, which is funny because a lot of people in Hawaii don't really know who I am, which is so funny. People internationally and in the mainland know who I am, and it's when I interviewed. I want to say when I interviewed. What's his name? Kyle Hebert, the voice of Gohan and Ryu. He's like, dude, I've heard about you. He's like, everyone, like all the voice actors are saying, like, yo, this is a fun show to go on. Like, this guy he's really fun to talk to. He's really welcoming. You know, he's got the #1 podcast. And I'm thinking to myself, like, whoa, other people are saying it. It's not just me. Because you know how people say you got to fake it till you make it. Well, I believe in that to an extent, but at the same time, like law of attraction, you put it out there, you set the attention. And I just kept saying I was #1 podcast until it eventually became that. And then I've had instances out here where, you know, I go to work and they're like, yo, you're Mekel Kasanova. You work here. I was like, oh, hi. And then they'll say like when I'm around a director or something, they're like, "Yo, you're Mekel Kasanova. Can I get an autograph?" And I'm like, "An autograph? What? Okay."
That's crazy. I mean, that's awesome too. At the same time, because like I imagine, like, man, I have a horrible signature. Like, he wants an autograph. Like for me personally, like for me, it would be
about, man. You just scribble.
Yeah.
You just gotta make it look fancy loops.
No, because like for me, like I completely forgot how to write in cursive, so mine is just a scriggly. It's a cursive J with some scriggly on it.
That's how it's mine for me too. Like that's why it's great. I shortened my, as I go on the show, I'm like, oh, my name, I'm host K, and instead of my actual name, because my actual name, as you see it on Facebook and stuff, is like, what the fuck are these letters together? I do not know how to say this. So if I was to ever like do a signature, it's just like, not just K.
Oh man, my signature, it's never the same. It's different every time, to the point where one time I signed a check and my bank blocked the check. I have to call them, but like, no, that was me. It's so different than your signature here. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's different every time. They had me come in and redo the signature for their file. And I told them, like, I don't see the point in doing this because it's going to be different next time. They're like, well, try to remember this one and try to match it next time.
Like, how can you do a fraudulent signature on Scribble? Come on now.
I don't even know, man. Apparently, like, they got someone analyzing it. Like, oh, yeah, this stroke, this is definitely this guy.
And the other things, like, I've noticed that you've done you've been so involved in the community as well of Hawaii. Like,
I try.
You've been organizing events, like, or helping organize events, like especially with, like, in the FGC for Hawaii. You've got, you've been talking to people who develop fight sticks and everything like that too. And I saw it recently on Twitter. Like, I think you guys did like a tournament or something. Not
yeah. We just got part of the Tekken World Tour. And we're Video Gamers Hawaii. Mm-hmm. So we're at KawaiiCon, which is the third biggest, I want to say third biggest or fourth biggest convention that we have in Hawaii. And this is our first year there. So it's, we've got tournaments there. Mm-hmm. We have our weekly tournaments so it was Tuesday, now it's Thursdays. And yeah, like I've basically been trying to help my friend Keith Lemos get the name out for his group, which he started Video Gamers Hawaii, and I'm kind of like the marketing guy, so I'm trying to give them as much publicity as possible. But I'm currently in the works of actually branching out, like, completely separate from Video Gamers Hawaii and just doing my own thing. I'm talking with a lot of companies like Bitrix, like they sent me, these super high-end $400 headphones, and Astro, and I'm working with them, and Hori, and a bunch of other gaming companies. And the thing I found out is all these companies, they have a lot of interest in doing something in Hawaii, especially Capcom and Bandai Namco. And I'm in talks with all of them to throw a major event that could be as big as like CEO is in Florida or Wednesday Night Fights in California. Oh, nice. And they, the biggest thing is like people like, oh, I've asked these companies like, oh, do you want this to be like a Video Gamers Hawaii type thing? And they're like, no, we want you as Mekel Kasanova. This is your event, and we want you to have this going as a whole. So I'm like, okay, I need to figure out how to market that. Because they're like, we're interested in you, not VGH or Video Gamers Hawaii. We're not interested in anything else. You're the person, you're the ambassador that's gotten our attention. So I'm like, okay, all right. And that's the other thing too. A lot of people, because I review products for video game companies, and I review video games themselves and tech stuff. And a lot of people are like, how do I get into doing that? Like, how are you able to do this with this company? And when I tell people what I do, they think it's so simple that it's impossible. I literally either A, tweet at companies, B, message them in their DMs, or I find a contact and I just email them and they get back to me. Like I don't do anything at all special. I don't. And people, they seem to gravitate towards it. So I'm like, hey.
Was there at like any point when, you know, when you were just starting out, when you were like tweeting at these people, were they like, oh, you're not up there yet, so we don't want to have nothing to do with you right now. Maybe once you get to this subscriber level or whatever.
The funny thing is when I started, when I actually started getting into reviewing products, I was actually doing that for stuff on Amazon, because I'd get the thing where it's like, hey, I'd message because I think there's a feature where if you go to like a company page on Amazon, you can message the seller. And so I would message him like, hey, you know, I'd like to review this or I'd like to review that. And then they give me an Amazon code to get it for free. They're like, oh, yeah, so we just need you to review it and just use this code. So I was doing that. And it got to a point where Amazon actually, I can't leave reviews for products anymore because they violated Amazon's terms of service. Once they got to the point I couldn't review products, and then, you know, they weren't sending me stuff anymore, so I just started tweeting at companies. And a lot of them, you'd be surprised, a lot of these huge companies, they don't really care how big your subscriber count is or your presence on social media. They just, it's free publicity, because they look at it as in the sense of it costs them nothing to send something to you to review versus paying a marketing or media company tens of thousands or millions of dollars to review stuff, you know, to put it out there, to, you know, give them publicity. Right. So they look at it like that. And I mean, I've had a couple companies like Nintendo, of course, or like, well, don't come to us until you've got like 10,000 subscribers, and Sony's the same way. Microsoft actually isn't. Microsoft is very, very active in the game community and content creators. They're always trying to work with people. They don't really care about the size. Apple is too. Apple works with people a lot. Google, Google's okay. But yeah. It's I've had quite a few companies that you're like, yeah, you're not quite there yet. And now it's at a point now I don't even reach out to companies anymore.
Now they reach out to you.
Yeah. It's like I got like 7 emails this morning. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna review that. Yeah, I don't have time for that.
No, see, I mean, that's the thing too, right? It's like you're so genuine about what you want to review. Is things that you actually have interests in. It's not something like, you know, you're just like, okay, it's not like you're just putting out like a fake review for a product, like just because you got the product. It's no, you're reviewing things with the passion because you're passionate about what the thing is and what it affects. Like, for example, like I know you've been working with also Thumbsticks Pro, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
I mean, I don't want to get their name wrong because I see them like sharing our stuff too, and I'm just like, man, yeah, Thumb Pro, and I'm just like, wow.
You know, and with them, it's been like an honor to work with them because it's a prototype, and to be the first person ever to use, like I'm literally the first person to ever use this thing, and for someone who plays a lot of fighting games, like there is a difference in how you use you know, a fight stick to a controller, and there are people who can do both, and there are barriers of entry, and this product I feel like is something I can get behind, and I'm all for it. And I've actually taken it to tournaments, and I've talked to people who are in the FGC who have mocked it. They're like, oh, it looks like crap, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but didn't you guys, aren't you the same people that said the same thing about the Hitbox Arcade? that had the same layout as a computer keyboard, the up, down, left, right arrows. They're like, oh, but that's different. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. And I think also too for me, I'm not afraid to be the first to do something.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to be to take a chance on things either. And I think that has helped me go quite a long ways. And I'm just very grateful for it. But yeah, like I know a lot of people that get products for review, and you'd be amazed at a lot of the bigger content creators and YouTubers that actually get stuff for free to review. And say, for instance, and this is something I run into a lot when it comes to video game reviews. These people, oh God, I'm trying not to throw shade, but I'm throwing shade anyway. So 90% of YouTubers actually don't play more than 30 minutes of the games that they get for review. I know this for a fact because a lot of the top journalists and YouTubers, I have them on my friends list on Xbox or my gamer, like on Xbox, on PlayStation, on Steam, on Nintendo Switch. They play probably 20 to 30 minutes before they throw up a full review. And a lot of them, some of the other things that they do is they take a lot of them will plagiarize, paraphrase someone else's work. They will take, for instance, the Screenwave YouTubers. They copy cookie cutter each other. They'll take a general thing and just work around it. You'll see a lot of YouTubers have the exact same reviews and words and all that, and it's because they are plagiarizing one another. I mean, we saw that happen with that.
I think it was IG.
The Dead Cells review.
Yeah,
from IG.
The thing is, and I know Philip Muchin. He actually has plagiarized me many times. He did a review of the of this arcade stick from Hori. I put out one, and the following day, after he had been asking me for different things about it, if I had a written version of my review, and I was like, yeah, I just sent it over to him, and I look at it because I was naive and stupid. And I gave it to him, and then the following day, he did the same exact thing. He had the same points as me. He just had better audio and camera, panning and all that. And a lot of them do that. A lot of these people do that. And that's one thing that I try to do differently is I try to legitimately play and enjoy the games that are given to me. Like there are some games where companies will give you an embargo. Same thing with tech. They'll give you a certain time. Like you can't put out anything until here. And with me, I will wait until sometimes I'll hit the embargo. Sometimes it won't. Like there's a game I'm reviewing now, Princess Guy from NIS America. The embargo lifted like 2 weeks ago. I personally haven't put it out just because I'm still playing the game.
Yeah.
I put in 10, 15 hours into the game and I'm not done yet. I want to beat the game before I put out the review. I want to explore everything in it. But a lot of people, their thing is they want to just be the first to get it out. And I see a lot of people, like I've seen somebody put out a 3-minute review of Princess Guide. It's a 30 to 40 hour game, and they skip over so much stuff. And it's integrity is something that's lost on a lot of YouTubers. That's enough of my shade throwing.
But like I said, with your work, like it stands on its own because like I've said before earlier, it's like you see the passion that you have in what you're doing, and that will always beat out the other people that, even though they may be in the spotlight, it's just not going to be for long, you know, because that spotlight's going to hit some shadows that they don't want to be out, in a sense.
Yeah.
Well, also when you're plagiarizing, eventually you do that.
Yeah.
You're going to run into some kind of legal trouble, as we already saw with that Dead Cells review. But, you know, either way, even if they don't, you keep putting out identical stuff, eventually your stuff is going to get less attention. Not you personally, but I'm saying the people that are doing that it's like, you know, they're all going to look the same. So eventually people are just going to be like, okay, well, I keep seeing this everywhere. Who's actually doing something original?
Yeah.
And they'll seek it out and they'll find it eventually.
You know, and that's the thing I try to tell people that get into gaming YouTube and tech YouTube, like, just be you. Put the you back in YouTube. You got so many people that, you know, when it comes to gaming YouTube, let me see, I said this to a friend the other day, you know, and I basically I say it like this. I said, you just have to present something that people want to see. You know, there's so much oversaturation of the same content from so many YouTubers. You know, you got the people that, you know, a lot of people are just honestly tired of seeing it. You know, that's why it's best to switch it up, because, you know, do something original. But right now, you've got too many cookie cutter carbon copies on YouTube. You've got too many gaming news channels where they're so desperate for views, they're talking about gaming stocks.
Gaming stocks. Okay. I mean, that's new. That's new.
Nintendo stocks went down 7%, so it's the Nintendo apocalypse.
Oh my god.
Like, and then you got the people doing the same thumbnails and titles, like, is it good? Does it suck? You got the endless Nintendo Switch channels with many people who really aren't even fans of Nintendo, but they're just riding the hype for views. It's just too much of the same old stuff. You know, you don't see a lot of original, and a lot of people are afraid to do things because they feel like it's I'm not going to get views. And that's the other thing I run into too, is a lot of people that hit me up for advice on YouTube, they're only doing so because they want views. They want to make money. And that's the biggest thing is, I tell people, if you were to remove the financial aspect of it, would you really put this much time and effort into doing YouTube?
Right. And
a lot of people wouldn't. I was doing YouTube before I was making any money. I mean, hell, I make $18 a month on YouTube. I'm balling, you know? That gets me
to the club and buy 2 shots.
Right? That just means I'm halfway towards the dinner at Chili's. So, so, you know, and it's just one of those things. Like, if money is not really a factor, do you really enjoy what you're doing? And for me, I just really enjoy making content. Like getting in front of a camera, writing reviews for my website, you know, doing stuff that as a kid, you know, when I used to tell my parents I wanted to review video games, because I used to read Game Informer, Edge, Game Pro magazine, Eurogamer and all that when I was a kid. And they would tell me, oh, you could never do that. And here I am as an adult and I'm doing that, and I'm very grateful for that. But then you have people that are just hopping on because they think, oh, I can make money doing this. Like, there's one guy who's constantly talking to me, and I keep telling him, dude, the reason you're not growing is because it's so obvious that you just want to make money. Yeah. I'm like, you've got 1,200 subscribers. Why are you not grateful for that? He's like, yeah, but I'm not really making money from it. Dude, I'm like, you know how hard it is to hit 100 subscribers? How hard it is to get 500, to get 1,000? Hell, even to get your first 10, it is not easy. But you got a lot of people that they hit 1,000, they hit whatever number, and they're not grateful for it. Yeah. Because they just want to make money on it. And then you got the females, the titty streamers, as I like to call them.
I know. I mean,
I ain't gonna hate on that. Like,
yeah, I get you.
That's part of them too.
You know, they're using assets that are uniquely theirs, and they're making.
I'm gonna start streaming shirtless,
right?
I got titties too.
Oh man.
Yeah. But I mean, I can understand why a lot of people would be reluctant to be themselves doing it, because it's kind of the nature of creativity. You know, you do have to start by imitating to kind of find yourself. I think it's, like you said, the money aspect that muddles it, though, that people are so focused on validating themselves by the number of dollars that's going into their wallet, as opposed to what makes them feel good. Because to me personally, you know, even though I'm someone that wants to write for a living, you know, to write fiction, it's first and foremost a spiritual need. You know, it's something I have to do whether I like it or not, whether I want to dedicate that time to it or not. And if I can do it to make money for a living, all the better, because it means I can do more. But at the end of the day, whether someone's paying me or not, I'm going to do it. I'm going to write. I'm going to do this podcast. And that's the end of that matter.
Yeah, this is one of the things that, like, you know, when we interviewed Paul St. Peter, which is an amazing interview that we did, like, you know, I've learned so much from it. Is the fact that, like, he tells it how it is. Like, even with whether it's in acting or whatever career path you choose, if it doesn't make you feel like, you know, you're 3 feet up off the ground while you're doing it, don't do it. Find something that, you know, you actually love doing, rather than thinking, oh, I'm gonna be on YouTube, I got this so-and-so personality, it's gonna be great, but I'm not making any money, but I'm solely doing it for the money. Like, even Paul St. Peter's, like, you know, he said that, you know, in voice acting, you don't make much.
Yeah.
You know, you're lucky if you get residuals on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And what you do is usually very little.
But for him, it was just something like, this is something he needed to do. And that's something that, you know, both you and over here at Geek Tank, that's one of our things, is this, that do something that you're passionate about. Talk about something that you're passionate about. Do it with you know, with a genuine attitude and positive attitude, and do so with integrity to your fellow human being.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, you know, when you're passionate about it, people can feel that energy. You know, we could jump down the rabbit hole of energy if you guys wanted to, but you know, I look at it like, if you're a positive, if you are genuinely enjoying the things that you do, then people will gravitate towards that positive energy. They'll feel it. You know, you can always tell when someone doesn't enjoy what they're doing. Like, think about it. You can go to like a store or a restaurant, and you can tell the people who hate their jobs.
Yeah,
you can tell those from the people who genuinely enjoy what they are doing. And I think that logic also applies to YouTube, you know, and content creation. And it's just, you know, I see a lot of people start, and in my head, I'm just thinking, like, how long are they going to last before they drop it? You know?
Yeah. It's so hard, you know, to tell people, like, even like with my family, like I kind of tell them, like, you know, this is something I've always wanted to do for a long time. I just didn't know how to get to it. I would have done it earlier if I knew the steps and whatnot to do. You know, oh, you know, maybe if I don't think about that stuff, like, where it's like, oh, if I had gotten earlier, or would I have made more, like, would I have made money, or would I have gotten popular or something? It's like, no, just do it. So regardless of whether you have 2 subscribers or, you know, 1 million subscribers, provide them with the best content that you can do. And it's that, you know, as a person, like, you can do, don't try and cater to also, like, to your subscribers, be grateful for them, but solely do yourself too. Don't get lost in that oh, what's trending right now, or what's going on? Like, do I need to talk about this? No, you don't need to. Just be you.
Well, I mean, on that note, if something is trending and it's topical to you,
obviously, Oh no, that's fine. Like I said, you could tell when people are actually talking about it when it pertains to them, and when they, like I said, when they're passionate about it, and if whether it's topical or not. Like I said, it's still, you can tell when someone is just solely just doing it for the views. Like, oh, like for example, like I just saw this. It popped up on my YouTube thing on my phone. It's like, oh, Ghost of Tsushima is canceled, blah blah blah, over the lawsuit.
Oh yeah, I saw that today too.
Dude,
like, what?
I saw the whole video too. I'm like,
hold on, wait a second. Was that really canceled? Dude, what?
And I was like, what the fuck, man?
Please tell me that's fake news.
It was the April Fool's thing, but it popped up on my phone recently. So
I hate that day.
But it wasn't. The thing is, like, it didn't pop up on my phone on April Fools. Otherwise, I would have known. Yeah. It popped up on my phone literally today, and I'm just like, what the fuck? So there's some people that will do shit just for the sake of controversy, and just like, oh fuck, you got my view, buddy.
Good job.
And then you look at it too, like were you guys seeing all those Soulja Boy videos where all these YouTubers, the gaming ones, are talking about, the Soulja console or the Soulja Boy console? Like, that was...
I saw something about that. Like, I didn't really like delve into it though.
So basically, Soulja Boy was selling Raspberry Pis with so basically, the Chinese knockoff consoles with a bunch of ROMs on it. Yeah, the entire Nintendo catalog of ROMs. And so all these gamers were getting mad. They were saying, "Oh, he's doing this," and blah 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 blah. And then you got YouTubers that sell this stuff themselves. And I'm over here like, you fucking hypocrites. How are you going to talk about that when you're doing the exact same thing? But the thing is, it was trending. So many people wanted to see videos on it. So you had channels that were effectively dead that went from 50-something thousand or 50 or 100 or so subs, or even ones who went from like 1,000, 2,000, just jump up to 50, 60, 70,000 subs. And so the thing with that is now their whole focus of their channel has shifted to them just doing controversy.
Yeah.
And like I was telling a friend who was like, man, like, oh, you should, because they were telling me I should hop on and do that too. And I'm like, no, because the problem with that is you're going to get people that will come there, and if you're not delivering that product, they're not going to come back. Mm-hmm. Like, and it just comes back to, don't start something you can't finish.
Yeah.
So, and if you want that to be what your channel is defined by, I mean, I look at a lot of stuff like with the whole thing with not Ruben. Well, I mean, by proxy, Ruben got dragged into it, but the whole Vic Mignogna situation where you had people like Hirohige and Yellow Flash and all these others hop on the whole bandwagon of talking about, the Vic Mignogna situation. And, a lot of people on the surface think that, oh, they're doing a great thing. They really care about Vic and his situation. And I can tell you personally now, they don't give a fuck about Vic. They're making so much money off of this topic that they don't want it to die off. No. Just like the people were doing with the whole Soulja Boy thing. And then it got to the point where people eventually just got tired of hearing about the Vic Mignogna situation. So what's the next thing that happened? The next thing that happened was, Toy Bounty Hunters had Ruben Langdon on for an interview after he did an interview with me. And then Toy Bounty Hunters invited Hirohige and Yellow Flash on. And so to stir up more controversy for views, they threw Ruben under the bus. And it's just that, and the thing is, it didn't go the way they wanted. So now they're just hopping to what's the next drama thing I can talk about? What else can I do? Now they're doing the whole NPCs thing, and they even tried to do like one with my friend Amazing Lucas. And it's like, no, you have made it to a point where your channel is so mired in controversy that anyone that associates with you is damaged. That's not a good look.
Yeah. Not at all.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the great things about you and your channel and stuff like that. It's like you're never like actually throwing shade. You're just, you're always trying to work with people and help them.
I throw shade. I throw some shade. I throw some shade. I'm not very subtle with it. I feel like I just threw some shade at Yellow Flash and Hero Hiei. It's just because my logic is I hate when people use someone else for their own personal gain. And I think the stuff that they've done with the whole Vic Mignogna situation, if you're trying to bring awareness to it, cool. That's awesome. But if you're just doing this for your own pockets and to stir up controversy, to attack other people, and then to throw people under the bus to get more stuff going like they did with Ruben, I have an issue with that. I can't stand by stuff like that.
Well, I wouldn't say that's...
go ahead.
I wouldn't say that's throwing shade. That's more like, you're defending people in a sense.
Yeah.
Well, I think what Kay was trying to get at was that basically it comes down to that idea of putting energy out there. There's some people that like to stir the controversy pot because that sort of thing draws a lot of attention, and you can put that kind of chaos out there, but there's the other side, which he's lumping you in, which is that you actually put out something genuine because you're putting out a labor of love. That it's the complete opposite of the controversy pot, where you're putting out something good into the world, and it's all about giving something that's worth having, and you get positivity back for doing that.
Or at least I try.
That's all you can do.
No, I mean, you've done it in spades, man. I mean, like, you've done it. You've done so much for your community as well, providing the content that you provide, and not only just organizing and making aware of, like, recently you just did a podcast about disabled gamers, and you had with you did it with Ruben, and he was aware of it, and then you're making things that need to be addressed known, and things that you're passionate about, and also you're just like, you're always constantly trying to help others as well. So I mean, even with us, like, you're being on our show, it's just like you've extended our hand. You're like asking us, like, hey man, who do you want to interview, or who do you want, man? I'll get him for you. And it's like whoa, we're not that well known yet or anything like that. But
what? You number one show in Florida. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Jay, well, where you been? 50 million subscribers.
Well, I mean, Mekel's got 10 billion, so we're still trying to work on that. There's more than, even though 7 billion is the population of Earth, he's got 10 billion people.
Well, let's jump on that Soulja Boy console and catch up.
So I just really want to say thank you, for being on this show and for exuding the positivity that you do, for providing the people, not just in Hawaii, just all around the world, with the content that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And also thank you for sharing that story, because there's a lot in there that is very deeply personal. So I would imagine that it wasn't necessarily easy to tell, but it is a very inspiring story. So thank you for that. And I'm sure everyone that ends up listening to this will also be glad to have heard that.
anything. I find that, you know, even in the best or the worst of situations, there's always something we can take from it and learn. So if my bad situations can help somebody else, then yeah, you know.
And with that being said, I think this is a good spot to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So, Mekel,
Unless you guys want to talk more, it's up to you.
I actually want to.
Well, you wanted to watch WrestleMania. I know we're interrupting that, so.
Well, you know what happened is I had WWE Network. I had the app up, and the first match that they did, they had Brock Lesnar come out as the first match, and I'm like, okay, that's weird. And they had him drop the title in like 5 minutes, so I'm over it. I'm over it.
The day is done. They blew it. They ruined it.
They're pushing this agenda right now. It's something I'm kind of sick of with WWE. And I guess mainstream media as a whole is the whole narrative of pushing identity politics and race stuff all the time. So, like, okay, they're pushing right now for the story with Kofi Kingston. He's a African-American wrestler. And so they're pushing this narrative that, oh, you know, the white man always screws us over, with Vince McMahon not giving him title shots. And then they did this, what they call kayfabe story, where they were like saying, oh, you know, people like us we only get so far. They're alluding to, you know, black people like us don't get so far. And I'm just so fucking tired of hearing that story, because it's, I tell people when people try to come to me about stuff like that, and it's like, go live in another country and compare that to where you are in the United States. You know, yeah, there are problems here that we're working on, but compared to other countries, things that you have and take for granted, people don't have in other countries. And it's just this I like to call it the oppression Olympics. I'm just tired of it. Like it turns me off. Like I see they're doing it in video games, they're doing it in TV shows, they're doing it in movies. I'm just getting so tired of media. Like I just tune out.
It is like a double-edged sword, because I mean, I would say there are problems that need to be like made aware of in our country, but the thing is, the way it seems is like certain outlets are cashing in on that.
Yeah, it's like a marketing ploy, and I mean, a lot of people refer to it as pandering. I think that's a good way to refer to it, because when you do that, you don't properly address the situation and actually solve it. You just play up, you know, that victim mentality you were talking about, and then it makes people unhappier as a whole, I think, rather than making the go ahead.
And I feel like it's like it's dismissive of the actual issues that need to be addressed. It's just like, I feel like certain corporations, they just kind of sort of cash in on it for the sake of making money, instead of actually making, you know, raising the actual awareness about certain problems. It's just like, it's just
right. And I, like that's one thing that I want to state, is that like it's a lot of the corporate and media meddling that I have a problem with, because I'm not about to, you know, belittle anyone's experience that's ever experienced racism or anything, because I've experienced, you know, in my own way, problems like that. It's just, I don't let it define me. But for other people, you know, I can't say if you know, whether they've been racially profiled or not. I can't say that it's a made up statistic or anything like that, and I would never. But there is a problem with how the media handles it.
Yeah. And, you know, and that's to say, like, a lot. I've had people say, "Oh, you think racism doesn't exist?" I said, "No, it does." But we're not talking about racism in the sense of what it was in the days of slavery or the days of the 50s or 60s. We're in the 21st century. This is entirely different. We do have laws that prevent a lot of it, but at the same time, you got to learn how to work the laws to your favor to get certain things that you want.
Yeah.
But it's this whole thing of making this stuff define you.
Yeah.
That's the part where I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like this whole, the people just want to be defined by, oh, this is the color of my skin, and because of that, this is my reality, and we need to segregate. Like there's this big push for segregation, which to me is a complete undermining of everything that people who fought during the civil rights movement died for or fought for. And now you got people in their own safe spaces. We want a blacks only thing. We want a, Asians only thing. We want a this only thing. It's like, no, that's stepping backwards. Like that's,
I mean, for me, like America is it's supposed to be the place that, you don't have to be defined by race.
Yeah.
Me, I'm a mixed child. For me, race never really factored into how I thought about myself. It never played a factor in selecting my friends. I always based my judgments upon people by their character, by how they behaved, by how they treated others, by how they treated me, not what they looked like.
And that's how it should be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing, though, right? It's something really a problem with today's medium and today's way we get our information. It's just we're just so flooded and overloaded. Everything's pretty much got like a label to it, and it's like, guess what? There's a product for each and every single label that you're put onto.
Yeah. I'm a gamer. I have to have this. I am Asian. I have to have this. I am gay, straight. I have to have this. There's all these different things. I'm a man. I have to have this. I have to have this special body wash that's for men. So it's always just it's a game that people are playing, marketers and corporations. And when we buy into these labels and forget that they're just a convenient way of communicating, then we actually dehumanize each other and even ourselves. Forget that we're so much more complex than these labels. The three of us are gamers, but that's not all we are.
Yeah.
And what is even a gamer? You ask three different people, and they're each going to have a different idea in their head of what a gamer is.
Yep, that's true.
With that being said, now, is there something, this is funny because this is probably like the most controversial stuff that we've gotten into, I guess, in this episode. And it's like, it's not controversial.
Because like controversial would be like throwing people under the bus.
Yeah.
Being an asshole, but
what? I was doing that earlier today. I was burying people.
Yeah, man. You took out the spade and you dug 3 6-foot holes, maybe more.
But no, I mean, like I said, we loved for people to be themselves. That's instead of following that mob mentality or following just following the in this thing that people are pushing other people into. Just trying to be yourself and be genuine to other people. That's all people should do.
Yeah. Be as organically you as you can.
Whatever that may be. If you want to be a toaster, be a toaster.
Hey, I self-identify as a 128 gig USB drive. So, do not discriminate against me if I insert into things.
Hey man, there's a USB drive out there for everyone.
There is. I'm married to one.
All right. Well, I guess this has been Geek Tank. Thanks.
Give your plug.
Yeah, thanks to Mekel for being here. And
yeah, tell us where we can find you. Tell us any upcoming events or projects you have coming. Let everyone know where they can find all that.
Well, you can stalk me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's twitter.com/Mekel Kasanova, Instagram @Mekel Kasanova, Facebook. Same thing, same difference. Just Mekel Kasanova is at the end of it. You can find me on youtube.com/Mekel Kasanova. The podcast on all podcasting outlets from iTunes to Spotify. It's what is the name of it? Oh, Mekel Kasanova Podcast. Yes, so you can catch me on there. The Kasanova Podcast, #1 podcast in Hawaii. Legitimately is people.
yeah. I was about to say, I was like, if you literally Google Hawaii's #1 podcast, he comes up.
Yeah, that's the real deal. He faked it and he made it. It's there now.
Yeah.
Right, it's there. But yeah, as far as projects, I mean, I've just got more stuff I'm doing with Thumb Pro Arcade. I've got stuff I'm doing with Astro. I'm reviewing this new controller that they sent out to me. So their version of kind of like the Elite controller.
Okay.
And you can modify. You can actually move the buttons around, different placement. You can remove the sticks and place them wherever. So if you want the D-pad over here or the buttons over here or wherever, it's fully customizable. It's got paddles on the back, trigger hair locks.
That is very
so I've got
cool.
that's in the works. Reviewing the headset from Mixamp. Oh well, no, not Mixamp. Damn, I got the name wrong. Matrix Pro. Reviewing theirs. That's in the works, and a bunch of other video game stuff. Yeah, I just like to nerd out. So if you guys like an authentic feel for nerding out and reviews and whatnot, then yeah.
Watch his stuff. It's great. It's genuine. It's filled
It's
with passion.
crappy.
It's filled with passion, and to see where, like I said, I'm so glad that you were on the show, and for people to hear your amazing story on how you became #1 podcast and how you're going to be like #1 in the world, man. I
don't know about that. If I can get on the Joe Rogan podcast, or Adam Carolla one day, then, hey.
Just be prepared for the big question. Have you ever tried DMT?
Be like, what flavor?
Well, once again, thank you guys for watching Geek Tank, and this has been an amazing show, and we're out.
See you next time. Space Cowboy.
All right, Z, you ready?
Yeah, give me a minute. Let me just kind of like go through to my head a little bit. The intro.
Take your time. There's no rush.
When does WrestleMania start over there? It should start soon, right? Like in an hour?
No, it's actually now.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they kicked it off with Hogan. So I mean, it doesn't get good until like the midway point. So I don't stress the beginning of it.
All right. We'll get through this quick then.
Dude, no rush.
We don't want to watch this.
I think I'm good to go. Besides, we're not live. We can do multiple takes if I screw up. The benefit of recording. All right. Let me know when you start it, okay?
Oh, it's been recording.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, are we live?
No, we're not live. I'm just recording it and then I edit it.
Oh.
Yeah, so don't worry.
If we make any goofs, we're good. All right. So then, do a countdown. 3, 2, 1.